Hello, everybody. I am so sorry. I had spent my whole day on Zoom, and today was the first time that there was a big problem. Not sure. But anyway, let's get back on track. I hope I haven't lost anybody. Deepest apologies. Okay, so what I was saying, going back to that, just check. Okay. So what I was saying, so we might not have the desire, that running libido to go into the bedroom, but just having that awareness that even though we might not be like craving it and just ready, the awareness that intimacy is for our benefit, not just spiritually, but emotionally and physically and mentally. There is a release. There's a deep connection on the body level, on an emotional level, and on a more spiritual level. So having that awareness is always helpful. But also, like, I always give this analogy of like when you go to the gym, getting to the gym can be like the biggest struggle. But when you're on that treadmill or when you're lifting weights, whatever it is, and you start going, the hormones, the adrenaline is kicking in. And you're like, yes, I can do this. I can do this. I just want to run for ages or whatever it is, right? Or dancing, like whatever ignites you. And that's exactly the same for intimacy generally, okay, is that the hormones can actually, and the adrenaline and endorphins can ignite and help the process of arousal and desire increase. So having that awareness, like right now you might not feel it, but when the arousal start happen, it can help us lead into more of a ready state of connection. And I had heard this beautiful analogy of that, just like prayer, we're instantly having that connection with Hashem. It's always there. But what makes connect that feeling of like, wow, I really stood in front of Hashem and I'm Amidah and I feel that connection. It takes time. It takes preparation. And that's the same for intimacy. That connection with our husband is always there. Always there. It was created under the chuppah. But to actually create that deep connection and to create that pleasurable experience, we really have to set the stage. We really have to invest. And as women, as receptive beings, we are often influenced by our hormones, the surroundings, okay? Hormones, spiritually, our emotions of everybody else. We're very receptive. So we can often get swept away by everybody else. And it takes sometimes a lot of strength and practice and skills to bring us back in, to focus our mind on energy on ourselves. Because a lot of times when we're thinking so much of other people all the time, giving to other people, we're we lose and drain ourselves. So how can we create that stage, okay, of creating more desire? And I mentioned on another Zoom, I can send the link afterwards, about more of when we are actually in the physical. So if like we're not experiencing pleasure, even though pleasure is really important physically for the marriage, to experience physical pleasure during intimacy with our husband. And I have another Zoom call that goes into really deep techniques on what you can be using in the actual moment to stay present to increase more desire and arousal there. But knowing that, just having a quick concept that even if there isn't pleasure, being together itself is pleasurable, because the minute we put emphasis on it's not pleasurable because I'm not having an orgasm or I'm not being stimulated and so forth, I cannot have an orgasm, that we have a very tricky mind. But the minute we focus on it, it actually stops us from having it. I give an example of, just when you're trying to go to sleep and your body is relaxed and you're like, okay, why am I not falling asleep? Go to sleep. Just go to sleep. Close your eyes. Go to sleep. Why am I not going to sleep? Okay, just go to sleep. I have 20 minutes, like say you're taking a nap. I have 20 minutes to go to sleep. And you're like there focusing on falling asleep, saying to yourself, thinking about it. And what happens? You can't go to sleep. It's only when you go really into your body, go out of the mind, the frontal cortex of thinking, that we can actually go into more pleasure and experience. Okay, more detail on that, because today we're really talking about desire. Okay, so to And just touching and following on from that, to really experience pleasure, we really have to let go of that, everything, our surroundings. And that's the same for desire. A lot of times we're thinking of, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do that with the kids and all of the, we're thinking so much about the external world that we're forgetting our own inner world. And that can feel very scary. It can feel very selfish, but we all know, and this is a new concept, I think it's not new, but it's definitely being spoken a lot with, when we neglect ourselves, we cannot show up how we really want to in our relationship. And that's the same for desires. When we don't really access our own desires, there's no potential for it to be acknowledged, or even potential for it to even happen. What we do is we hold them down inside, okay? And we get frustrated, we get resentful. I can tell you, it was only a few weeks ago that I was experiencing this myself. Like, I know this, I teach this, I preach it, I ingrained it into me. But because life got so busy of work and children, this and this and this, I'd forgot to stop and say, like, hey, like, our schedule has changed, like things are going on. And I'm feeling a little bit antsy, I'm feeling a little bit frustrated. And I was like, I hadn't even made that time to stop and say, what are your desires right now, Leah? What are you needing right now? And I forgot to stop. And if I don't stop on a regular basis and ask myself this, then it goes into frustration, goes into pain and hurt. And as women, we carry everything. Unless we have been aware, we generally carry a lot into the bedroom. Okay, very common that we're in our minds a lot, okay? And that's preventing us from fully connecting and fully embracing this experience. So carrying everything into the bedroom. So why do we carry everything? Because we don't have the tools, or because we're afraid that if we let go of them, then what will happen, right? What if I do allow pleasure to happen? Then what about if I start accessing this pleasure? What will happen? Will I be met? So the fear of vulnerability is so powerful for women. It's so true. And it might seem realistic, but it's a true fear. But often or not, what happens in the space of vulnerability, deeper connection can happen. Okay, like being vulnerable, like to have desire, people sometimes are afraid to be physically intimate. So they don't allow that desire to manifest, to blossom. Because then what if I do enjoy it? What if they leave in the middle? What if they leave at the end and I feel alone? What if it's painful? What if I don't shop the right way? What if I make too much noise? And what if there's lack of instability? What I'm being taken for granted? What if I invest all of this energy into my desire and joy into physical intimacy, and I'm not met? Okay, so there's a lot of things that we carry as women around the world of physical intimacy. But what happens when we are able to let go? Let go of all of this noise that we carry on. Let go of everything else and focus on ourselves and step into this feminine role more and more. We get to enjoy more. We get to experience more. We get to have more connection. When we are in that state of contracting, right? Thinking about everybody else, okay? Not wanting to access our desire, okay? We're contracting ourselves. We're blocking ourselves off from ourselves. We're blocking ourselves off from receiving from our husband, okay? And that can look like a tightening of ourselves. But even the muscles, if we're going around stressed and frustrated because we're so thinking about everybody else, that also goes into the bedroom. The tightening of the vagina muscles, that we're not able to relax, that we're holding on tight. And that obviously can be subconscious, and that can bring pain, can bring fear. And that can also play a part in the physical aspect. So how can we create that stage, just like we want to create the stage of, if we are running into prayer, like with the kids and like just doing this and this, and like the kids are late and we just got dressed and we're just like, okay, quickly, 3 minutes, I mean that, okay, it's going to be so quick. But if we build the stage to building that connection and allow for our desires to ignite throughout the day, then we are investing more in the pre-build-up so that our desire and our arousal can happen more. So we have to look at how are we coming into physical intimacy. So I want you to take a moment and ask, what is your intimacy like in your marriage right now? What is coming in the way of your intimacy? And what would need to happen for you to have more desire in your intimacy? So first is recognizing, where am I standing in this at the moment? Having the awareness is the first step. If anybody would like to share, even on the chat, privately with me. So what steps can we take, okay, to increase our desire? Our desire is really that desire to be physically intimate. We're talking about physical intimacy right now. The desire to be with our husband, to connect with our husband, to go into the bedroom. So one of the common things, we're not addressing trauma right now, and we're talking about a genuinely healthy relationship, okay? Because trauma and those sort of things would have to be dealt with more specifically, but generally, an average healthy relationship. We are so busy to make time for physical intimacy that it can feel like a burden, or it's one of those things at the end of the day, you're like, oh, I really should be doing it. Okay, so scheduling is okay, because what it actually can do is it makes it happen, but it allows you to actually prepare yourself mentally, physically, emotionally. A lot of times women says, I find it hard making that transition from mother to wife, to being a mother to then being sensual. Okay, so scheduling is okay. And then making sure that your bedroom is your tidy space and is your space. I did a podcast with a minimalist, an interior designer. She was saying, you want to be looking at your space and saying, what am I bringing into my bedroom? Don't have dirty laundry, don't have kids' clothes, don't have this. Make it a clean space for you so that you're not going to be like less triggered going into the bedroom, less stimulated to think outside. What else can ignite your desire, increase your desire? Wearing nice clothes, okay? Don't save your best clothes to simchas. Wear your best clothes every day. You know, I'm not talking like ball gowns. I'm talking about nice clothes that make you feel good. Makes you feel, oh, this is my body. I love my body. I look beautiful. I look attractive. I look good. That is really important, to invest in you and your well-being of looking good. There's definitely a fact, if we sit in pajamas all day, it brings this pajama energy. But getting up and getting dressed in nice clothes. Again, wear nice underwear, right? Nice, what is nice for you. It helps us build our confidence and connection with ourselves. Okay, igniting this joy, this feel good is part of desires. We want to be connecting outside of the bedroom with our husband, because often life can go so busy and so quick, we just become like roommates and we forget to be physical outside of the bedroom. So that can be just a touch, look longer in the eyes, you know, or even maybe just make that eye contact when they come home, greet them, walk past and touch, maybe give them a little squeak, like a little grab on the bum if that's, you know, or bring that fun aspect. What does that do? It keeps that connection, and it keeps us connected physically if we're not in nidara. It keeps us physically, so it kind of creates that sensual connection between us, as opposed to only in the bedroom. because then it can be very hard for us to go into it. So keeping that desire, keeping this connection, this attraction, this little fire ignited, and work out what's best for you. And if it's something that you're not comfortable with, explore, why am I not comfortable with? What am I afraid of if this gets rejected? Or what am I afraid of to do this? Okay, ignite that back up. Share what you love with your husband. Share what you appreciate about your husband. Appreciation is like one of the number one intimacy connecting skills. Okay, it instantly connects the two of us. Makes us feel good when we think about our husband in a good way. Makes us feel attracted to him, right? Attraction is really like, for women, it is about looks, but ultimately it's about, is he a man? Do I respect him? Do I honor him? Do I admire him and his attributes? And one way to do that is by looking at what he gives, what he offers to the marriage, how he shows up to the marriage, his manliness. And then also taking time for yourself. If you know that you're going to be intimate on this day at this time, or generally, let's say, you both go to bed around 10, right? Make sure that if it's a scheduled time, that you make your schedule easier. If bedtime is a moment where it's really stressful for you, maybe skip on something, or maybe make dinner a quick, easy meal, emergency meal, my mom used to call them, where it's like put chips and schnitzel in the oven and you don't have to cook and clean so much. Try and make that going into the evening on those scheduled nights, or in general, or those times where you're like, I would like to be intimate, so I'm going to create that space for me to allow me to relax. Okay, so it's about looking, how can I rejuvenate myself so that I'm not exhausted going into the bedroom. Okay, I'm going to fire through these. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat, either privately to me or on the whole group. Okay, so that's kind of setting the stage for intimacy. Like, that's what we can do. Okay, so also going into the bedroom, right? This is a whole thing. Okay, so like consciously being aware of, like, I know that I'm holding on to so much. I know that I'm carrying the world right now. I know that my day is so busy. I know I have a lot of thoughts. And just even like going, okay, so there's like one of those curtains with have lots of beads. Okay, just imagine one of those. Every time you go into your bedroom at night, you're just washing away the world, and you're just going in as this clean, open vessel, and like almost leaving everything. And I think it's very good to be able to go to sleep without all that stress, and just saying, I'm going to pick it up tomorrow. Obviously, most of the times you don't want to pick it up, it just kind of did, but you're choosing to let that go as you enter the bedroom. Okay, there's some things that we can do that I teach women one-on-one. Is like, how do I increase my desire? It's creating that connection to your body, to your whole reproductive sexual organs, your sexual energy. And that can be through moving, singing, dancing, activating that whole region, your pelvic region, the whole thing where the emotions stay. We become so accustomed as women to clench and to tighten this area, like the way we walk, as in this fluidity. So moving your hips, moving your body, accessing that. Meditating, there's a whole breathing meditation that I have that you're more than welcome to have access to. You can email me afterwards to get that link, where there's a meditation of connecting to your body, connecting to yourself, connecting to your vulva, your vagina, your sexual energy, and start connecting to it, to come into contact with it. So a lot of times we are not connected and we're not accessing it. And that can be because of beliefs, trauma, shame, guilt, fear. So this meditation is really helping us to build our awareness with ourselves, allowing ourselves to experience it. And when we are able to practice this on a daily basis or regularly, it's going to help going into the bedroom that we're connecting. This is what I can do to connect myself to my body, and then also bring more awareness, and that awareness in the sensation area of what's happened during penetration or when they're touching or foreplay can increase the arousal and excitement and pleasure. But the connecting to ourselves in a space that's not a sexual space allows us to get to know ourselves better. And saying I'm important, which is really, really important, and it's vital, and it's also going to help us let go of all the stress and the worries just because we're breathing, connecting to our body, talking, connecting. So these are the things that we can do to help ourselves kind of go in with more desire, right? And so let's look at another aspect of what is one of the biggest obstacles that kind of come up for lack of desire, and that's tiredness. Okay, and the fact that we are not that we nurture everybody else. The tiredness comes because life is so busy, and then we ignore ourselves. And that this looks like if you had a vessel, a cup, okay, and we go to sleep and we fill it up in the morning. Hopefully, unless you're breastfeeding, you're up all night. And that's even more things time to be aware of. But we fill up because we've rested, okay? And then every time we give, we're like drilling holes in our bucket. And then we're not sealing it. We're not sealing it because we're not resting. We're not sealing it because we're not nurturing ourselves. We're just giving and giving and giving. And then obviously there's nothing left. And then that's what we start showing ourselves up as, is this empty vessel. And this empty vessel often, and therefore carries into the bed as this empty vessel. And then that's where the thoughts come, oh, I don't have time, I'm too tired. It's only about them. Okay, why am I giving? Oh, I have to give more to my husband. Another thing on my list to do. Okay, and there's also some beliefs in there. And then what that empty vessel, we carry around resentment, annoyance, frustration, hurt, and we just generally don't show up as this best version of ourselves. So here it's saying, your desires, your happiness is completely in your hands. And this goes back to where we thought that everybody else can make us happy, and only they can change when they change, or when they do this, or when the kids behave like this, or when we focus so much outside, we think only that the surroundings outside of us can make us happy. That's giving us the energy away to somebody else. Now we want to bring back that focus and say, you know what? I am in charge of my well-being. I'm in charge of my happiness. I'm in charge of me. And that first is stepping into, what is it that I enjoy? And this question that I have asked so many women, they don't even know what they enjoy anymore because they have forgotten about themselves for so long. But they're basically saying, I don't know. I've just been this giver and I don't know who I am. I don't know who God created me. I don't know my sparks. I don't know what ignites me. I don't know what I offer to the world. And that can lead to us a very depressing place within ourselves, such an empty hole. So that question can really bring a great awareness of do I really know what lights me up? Because when we're not feeling good inside, we're not able to show up good outside. When we're empty inside, we're showing up empty. And that often is not who we really are. So when I'm thinking about everybody else, I'm ignoring myself. And God created us as a person. He created us first. Okay, first we have to be us, to then be a mother, then to be a wife. We also, before we can give, we also have to be whole. So we need to start discovering ourselves. And sometimes that can be really hard for women and wives. Okay, subject to their roles. We often hear about, oh, it's only when all the kids are left, the mother's like, who am I? Why do we have to wait to that place? Why not discover ourselves now? And for so long, I know that I was walking around in my marriage of I don't know who I am. I don't even know what I enjoy. I just was going through my days, just doing and doing and doing, but there was an emptiness inside. So I would like to invite you now to write a list of all the things that bring you pleasure. I'm not talking about the things that are numbing, like watching movies or like the odd movie is fine, but or sitting on the telephone, like on social media. I'm talking about things that ignite you, that tap into your godly gifts, that are empowering, that are fueling, that are nurturing. I'm so sorry. I'm not sure what's happening with the internet today. Oh, my deepest apologies. This never happens. So I was saying about writing a list. Writing a list of those things that ignite you, bring you back to your soul. What did you enjoy doing as a kid? What did you enjoy doing before you were married? What are those talents that you put on the back burner? What are those talents that you wanted to explore? What are those things that fill you up? And it can also be taking a nap. That's totally fine. But sometimes we oversleep as we're avoiding things. Okay, so really tapping in, obviously looking after our basic self-care. Okay, of having a hot shower and actually washing ourselves properly, or moisturizing. It can be the smallest thing like that, making sure I sit down and eat a meal, or I'm going for a walk every day, or physical activity, your creativity, your godliness, anything. So I'm going to invite you just a few moments to write this up. And this is something that you can tap into every time. And if you're finding like, I don't know, and I know that's common and it's okay right now that you don't know. And that's why you're here. And if you do, great. Keep exploring it more. And this list is something that you can add to at all times. And it's a moment of checking in with yourself, right? When we're feeling frustrated, if we're feeling annoyed, check in with ourselves and say, what am I desiring right now? And that desire might not be realistic, and that's okay. We're not talking about desires and they have to come true, but even just stopping and saying, what is it that I'm needing right now? What will make me feel good? What will help me? And stopping and asking ourselves is basically saying, I matter. I am important. And that in itself is so empowering. It's so nurturing. And we forget to ask ourselves. We just go, go, go. And now, once you have all the things in your list that bring you pleasure or ignite your spark, okay, your desires, right? I want you to put them down into your calendar of where can I do that every single day? Why? Because we don't want to get to a place of beyond our threshold where we're like having to run out and check out and we're like collapsing. We want to do it so that every day we are staying, we are full. Maybe we get a little bit less, but then we're going to go back up. If often happens, people like women, and we just go, go, go. And it gets to a point of like, this is too much. It's past my threshold. And then they go, every day we want to be taking care of ourselves. It's a great example to our children. It's teaching our children that mommy matters. Mommy deserves to be happy. Mommy's investing in herself. Okay, saying, oh, mommy, when mommy's stressed, okay, she goes and takes care of herself. She goes and looks after herself. Okay. And you have to address here, what is stopping you? What is stopping you from investing in you? What is stopping you? What is getting in your way? Where are you holding on to so many responsibilities that you feel that you don't deserve this time, this money, this energy? What would it look like for you to invest in yourself? How do you think that's going to shift your tiredness, your energy? How is it going to help you show up? If we're tired, we're not going to have desire to be with our husband because we'll see it as just another activity, another form of giving. Where we want to shift that mindset and actually, I'm not giving in intimacy. I'm actually receiving, because that's our role as a woman, is to be receptive to receive from our husband, because ultimately our husband wants to give to us. He's the mashpia, he's the one that wants to give, to see us happy, to see us flourish. When a woman, I always remember this time I never did anything for myself. And I can remember it was almost like this was part of the darkest times in my marriage, when I neglected myself so much and only focused on my husband and my son at the time. It was so dark. I was so unhappy. Now my husband wants to see me happy. He wants me to invest in me. He knows that me investing in me, I'm going to be happy. I'm igniting my spark, my joy. I'm walking around like empty, like flat. That isn't me as a person. I'm this joyful person, this happy person, this joking person. Now and then I could tap into it back then, but generally it wasn't my state of being. And that was so confusing for me, because I was so confused. Like, marriage is making me like this bad or this yucky person. It's not really me. Like, is marriage bad? And I realized, hang on, I wasn't even focusing on me to even be allowing me to be me. So when I started focusing on myself, and not focusing on myself, but actually putting me as a person into this marriage and into my home, I started becoming happier. I started being more, the desire I like to call it is like juicy. It's like this excitement. Okay, it's not just excitement to be physically intimate. It's excitement for life. It's this joy, this spark, this radiatingness. Okay, that when I was showing up from this place, I was becoming more attractive to myself. I was more attractive to my husband. I was able to receive more because I was already whole. And obviously, when my husband was attracting me, I was also being attracted to him. You know, I remember when I started running again for the first time in years. I was like, so joy. I came back like this ball of light. Like, running, like, exercise can do so much more than just taking the time out. And then I went home and I saw my husband as a completely different person. Okay, I knew new lenses on, and vice versa. He saw me as this different person, and it just created new energy, new spark into the marriage. And obviously, when my husband sees me happy, he just wants to see me happy more. So he's going to want to give to allow that space to happen. Okay. Obviously, when we have small children, it can feel really hard because we take care of them. But for what I experienced, when my husband saw that if he was to take the kids and then I'm coming back happy, he was only more and more encouraged to see that. So what are the benefits of even doing this? Like, to access our desires, to access our passion, because it's connecting you to you. You're finding ways that can make you happy. And sometimes we're sharing them. Okay, desires are really saying, this is something about me that would make me happy. Okay, so we're simply acknowledging us. We're honoring ourselves. And that's empowering and it's nurturing and it's very feminine. Okay, we don't want to go into, so we're first acknowledging the desire, something that we taught that we're not allowed to have. We can have as many desires as we want. We can dream. Okay, I would love to go to Japan. I would love to, what was the other thing I had the other day? Right? And sharing that just as a pure desire is creating connection. It's igniting some spark in me. Okay. We often think, no, it's not going to happen. It's not possible. So we squash. But again, we're just ignoring ourselves. So we want to ignite that passion and this life of desires. Okay. And it can, like I said one day to my husband, I want to get rollerblades and go rollerblading. And he was like, okay, like he or she was like, no, because it's dangerous. But that's his, okay? And he was worried. He was worried that I'm going to hurt myself, which is a very high because I did broke both my wrists 2 separate times on rollerblades. But when we actually start activating our desire, when we start expressing them, when we start recognizing them and sharing them just for the sake of sharing, we're connecting them to ourselves. We're connecting them to our juiciness. They're connecting to our sparks. We're connecting them to a deeper aspect. That's where fear comes, because what if they're not met? Now, we're not doing it for a case of them being met, because that's an expectation. We're doing them just because we're allowing, like I like to say, desires, when we put them out there in the universe, or to Hashem, or to our husband, or just even to ourselves, right? We are creating the potential for possibility to happen. I was walking around not even touched with my desires. And then I was like, getting frustrated, but it's because I didn't even know what I wanted. Okay. So for me to even say, like, what is it that you desire right now, Leah? What is going to make you feel good? It even allowed me to think of even a possibility to give that to myself. And whatever way we're showing up, the world matches it. If we're showing up happy, full of juiciness, full of life, the world is also going to show up that way. We're going to see that rather than the emptiness. And it feels good. And then it might just see. Okay, just wanted to see if there's any questions so far. Okay, so I'm just going to round up. So just finishing. So again, like there's what I always remember growing up and having this thing of like women love to complain. Okay, there's this statement that I just heard so much growing up, women love to complain. But if we really look at what is behind a complaint, it's really just an unexpressed desire. We feel that we have to complain to get what we want. But that's not inspiring anybody. And it doesn't even inspire me, right? It makes me feel yucky. And it's just this seemed to be this confused way of expressing a desire. So if we were to give this, to therefore it's a dead end, right? So I even just remember saying to myself, when I learned this concept, just start connecting to you and listening to you and learning what activates you, and you'll feel good. I remember sitting in the house one day and it was so hectic. And I was like, it's so noisy in here. Like that's a complaint. Someone would hear that as a complaint. Now, where am I going to get with that? Nowhere. Okay. So if I stop and say, what is my desire here? I would love some peace and quiet. When I said that to myself, I'm like, that's what you need right now, Leah? Okay, so let's make that happen. So I was able to like, okay, so I'm going to turn off that child's music and I'm going to put relaxation music on, and I'm going to grab some books and I'm going to read the kids some stories. Okay, and I'm choosing to somehow lower the volume of my surroundings because I realize that's what I'm needing. Okay, so it's always a cue of when there's going into complaining as an opportunity of like, the house is such a mess. Like, where does that go? We think that people might hear, or we might even see the possibility of the potential of what can happen, right? Of like, everyone get up and clean, right? But really, if we came from a place which doesn't inspire anybody, it doesn't inspire me, okay? But what is the desire? I would love a clean house. Even saying that to myself, I say that and I hear like, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this. All these different possibilities come up, okay? So desires can be anything from, I would love pizza, to I would love a tidy house. I'd love to learn how to sew. I'd love to go on vacation. I'd love to go to Japan. I'd love anything. It's just a piece of you that you're recognizing and acknowledging. And it just is so empowering to understand those voices inside of ourselves, because then we know how to move forward. So let me just. So when we are ignoring ourselves, we close ourselves up from the rest of the world. We generally go into a place of closing and just thinking externally. But when we go inside of ourselves, we're able to then actively choose. And desires allow that space for receiving. And that is vital for us as women, is to be in that space of receptivity, to receive from our husband. Okay, being the mishpia, the giver. So our desires are completely in our control, unless they're touching on something that we are requiring from our husband, which is a little bit different, okay, which always needs to come with an aspect of respecting them and their life, their time, their energy, and so forth. But your desires for you are completely in your control. And having this access to our desires of what do I need? What am I as a human? How can I ignite my spark and my life, my juiciness for life and as a person? Then can give us that self-confidence, self-worth, self-love that makes it easier to go into the bedroom, because we're not looking outside. We're not looking to depend on another person to make us feel good, because we're already feeling good in ourselves. And that can make going into the bedroom easier, because we're taking care of ourselves, because we're also igniting ourselves. So we're feeling happier, more confident, more worthy, because we're actually saying I'm worthy by our actions also. Now, someone did message me regarding, so that is kind of, the time has been an hour. I don't want to take any more time. I kind of skimmed through this very quickly, very briefly, and I go deeper into these concepts and more concepts in some upcoming courses that I'm doing. I'm doing one in starting maybe next week or the one after in the mornings, and there's a potential space to do one in the evenings online. I'm just going to do it in person, but I might change it to online for the people that were already signed up. So so being here today, I want to give you a gift of 20% off for attending this Zoom call today, and you can use that in your voucher for the upcoming courses, either online or in person. The in person is probably going to be a Sunday morning at 10 a.m. in Yerushalayim. The evenings, it depends on the availability of everybody else. It's probably be either maybe a Sunday or a Thursday on Zoom, maybe, or maybe another day. So you can get 20% off, and you can quote Desire and send me an email by that. We are probably going to start the following week. If you want to sign up, this discount is until the end of Sunday. Okay. And what this course is you're going to be learning how to communicate, how to create more intimacy, create more connection, break that dance that you are already in your marriage. Okay, or maybe you're in a good dance and that you're just feeling like something's not right, or I want to deepen what I already have. And how can I do that? How can I access my potential as a woman and create more connection, more depth in my marriage? I know for me that it was that what I learned here has changed my marriage and changed my life tremendously. And it is changing many other people's lives, many other women's. So that's saying that is the end of this workshop. If you have any questions, someone did ask a question. They asked a question: does pregnancy play a part on desire? Now, personally, there's so much that says yes, and there's also so much that says no. Everybody's different. Okay, everybody has a different experience. Some people say, generally what I've heard from my studies and from personal experience, the first trimester can be very hard, and the desire might not be there because you're feeling nauseous, your whole body's changing, and the hormones do have a part. Can't lie, hormones have a part on the desire level. However, having the concept of this is still good for me. It's good for me and my marriage, obviously taking in consideration how extreme your nauseous are. Just having the understanding that I might not have the desire, but just being with my husband is a beautiful experience. And having some of the tips and tools of, if we are pregnant, our body's working so much harder at bringing a baby, creating a baby, then it takes a lot more of that energy. So we have to, in a sense, nurture ourselves a lot more and give ourselves more of that time, really accessing what is your needs, which is also your desires. I'm desiring